dramatic year for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, with Bradley Holly dominating 2 out of the 4 seasons, currently the odds-on favorite to win the year-long championship. And he's a solitary a point ahead of challenger Daniel Knight in the Season 4 championship as well. Thomas Sink and Brandon Walter hung on to put themselves in contention for the championship 4 coming into this final round alongside Knight and Holly. But will Holly solidify his domination of 2020 and win both championships, or will Knight sneak the win of the season championship away and possibly the year-long championship as well? And if bad luck befalls Holly, will his team lose first in the team's championship? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the finale of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series 2020 season, sponsored by WEBB Hearing Centers, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is the phenom Chris Phoebe. Our director is Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. The man sitting next to me in the booth has a deep love and respect for this track, and to find out why, let's take you down to our track guide.
The Waltrips, the Marlins, Bobby Hamilton, Jeremy Mayfield, legendary names in the world of NASCAR, and they have one thing in common. They spent a good part of their early careers here at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, a track that recently took over the title of longest continuing operating facility in the U.S. from Milwaukee. Cup cars raced here until 1984, B-Class and trucks both left after 2000. This facility may have opened in 1904 at the beginnings of the track we know of today in 1958, but with modernization, it's on its way up. While many consider Nashville to be a half mile, it's actually a bit longer. It's just shy of 0.6 of a mile in length. From the top down, it looks like a traditional oval, and there isn't a whole lot of difference between the 4 18-degree banked corners, at least on that map. But where the character comes in is the bumps. This track hasn't been repaved since 1996, and it shows. But we could go over where all the bumps are, but they only give me about 2 minutes here. But navigating those is the key to a good lap. The All-American 400, one of the premier super late model races in the country, runs here yearly. ARCA has been making stops here again as well, and they have a huge slate of local racing here with street stocks, modifieds, trucks, and even Legends cars. And they are all vying to be that next Darrell Waltrip or Sterling Marlin, as Legends are made right here at Nashville's Fairgrounds Speedway.
You saw some fantastic shots of this awesome new addition to the iRacing service, but Chris, why don't you tell us more about this car and track combo, or truck and track combo rather?
Well, the truck is going to be a bit of a handful around this track, as we've seen with the fixed setup they have today. Trucks can be a little bit loose, a little bit twitchy, and this track is an old surface here, so it's bumpy and a little bit uneven, so you're going to see the drivers probably running a little bit higher up off the track. There can be 2 grooves here, but it really takes some finesse to make that very bottom work, just because of how bumpy and uneven the surface is. Probably running the track as a diamond off of turns 3 and 4 is going to be your best bet, with a low exit off of turn 4 is going to create passing opportunities. Of course, this being the NASCAR truck, you're going to want to keep the momentum up and keep these trucks rolling higher up the track and keep that momentum going so you have more speed down the straightaways, and that's going to be the keys to making this track work today.
Absolutely, and along with making the track work, you're going to want to make your hearing work for you too, and the best way to do that is to contact WEBB Hearing Centers. They're family-owned and operated since 1972, and they offer top-quality hearing aids and service in Arizona. Visit them at webbhearingcenters.com. That is web with 2 B's, hearingcenters.com.
And of course, our league sponsor, the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today to view their full line of products.
All right, Chris, it is very tight in all of the championships, so let's start running through them. This is the Drivers' Championship. Take a look at this. Bradley Holly is leading Daniel Knight by 1 point. Just 1 point. That is going to be something to keep our eyes on. Daniel Knight will have to finish 2 spots ahead of Bradley Holly or higher, depending on their qualifying, in order to win the season-long championship. But if he does that, he'd win the year-long championship as well. Thomas Sink, 23 points out, is not mathematically out of it, but with these 2 guys riding up at the front, it's going to be hard to do that. Brandon Walter has moved into 4th in the season-long championship as well, 48 points back with Mark Kalin, only 10 points back of him, so 4th place could change hands as well. But Chris, to you for the team's championship, and that's surprisingly close too.
That's right. With the great season a couple teams have had, it's really surprising to see it end up this close. But just 14 points the difference between the WEBB Jelly Rolls Racing squad and the WEBB Back Row Racing teams. So both still pretty evenly matched here going into the finale. The Ride and Shotgun Outlaws are on an island there in the third spot. But still a chance there for the Rescue Racing Squad 3 to try to make a run at it. And then Car Ramrod bringing up the back of the top 5 and 5th.
And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the Championship 4, presented to you by Webb Hearing Centers, the Precision Racing League 2020 Wednesday Truck Playoff Championship, sponsored by ButtKicker, Simza, Ninja Trader, and ourselves at the GSRC. And take a look at that. It's small, but it's there. Bradley Holly, Daniel Knight, Thomas Sink, and Brandon Walter, your top 4 in the points of the season-long championship, are your top 4 for the Championship 4. Whoever finishes ahead of the others in this race will be crowned your year-long championship. And with everything to play for in the other championships as well, the stakes are as high as they could possibly get tonight, Chris.
That's right. As far as the season championship goes, that's almost impossible for that to be any closer. So look for the battle that Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight have had all season to be even more intense than it's gotten earlier on in the season. And of course, that winner takes all Final Four for the year-long championship, that is a whole other can of worms. And some of the same participants in that are in our championship wrap-up, and there's just so much going on right now that you might need a diagram to keep track and maybe bust out an abacus to keep all the points straight. But this is going to be a fun one.
Well, we'll try to keep all of you at home apprised of the situations, but with 50 seconds left in qualifying, let's take you to the race details. This is round of 10 for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. They're driving the NASCAR Gander Out RV and Outdoor Series trucks. They have 115 laps around this place, 1 hour, whichever comes first out of those two. They have 24 incidents and 3 extra sets of tires in the pits for a total of 4 sets. They do not have a spare truck that they can take in the pit lane, so they have to live with any damage they get, and they're driving a fixed setup, which looks to be very loose around here, Chris.
That's right. That fixed setup has been a little bit tricky. These drivers have been running really well, managing it through practice. And I think they've all tried some stuff that could definitely transition over to a pretty good race. So I'm excited to see how these guys hit the track.
So am I, for sure. Now, before we get into qualifying, there is one driver who will not be able to qualify, and that is Mike Richter. He will have to start at the rear of the field due to a penalty he picked up at Darlington. So that's going to make things a little bit difficult for him coming into this. But quite frankly, unless they're challenging for the win, the rest of the guys are here to watch the show as well, because this championship fight's going to be intense, and the intensity starts right now, because with only 1 point separating Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight for the season-long championship, qualifying is going to mean a lot. That extra point could be the difference between the championship win and not.
Yeah, in these types of situations with the championship on the line and being this close, you really cannot afford to leave any points on the table. So these guys have to take qualifying. I'm sure they take it seriously every week, but they need to especially take it serious today.
Bradley Holly's been doing well in qualifying recently. Daniel Knight has kind of had a little bit of a slump himself, so he's going to be trying to put in the best time he possibly can. Look for Abner Acosta, who was quick last week, to put in a good time as well. We've seen some good pace from some other drivers like Colton Lane and Doug Evans in weeks past as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for somebody to come in and upset the apple cart as far as qualifying goes. And, I mean, especially you mentioned somebody like Abner Acosta, who comes from a road racing background, but has really taken to the trucks pretty well this season, picked up a couple wins, and has just looked really impressive all season long. And I think he's going to be somebody that may surprise us here today.
Colton Lane, our first truck to put a time in at an 18.498. Thomas Sink puts in the new fastest time at 18.4 flat, so he's up there at the front of the field. Bradley Holly still waiting on pit lane, as is Daniel Knight. So those two are two championship drivers still not yet out there taking their times, but with lap times under 20 seconds, they can leave pretty late and still get their times. And Colton Lane finishes his laps with a decent time up there in second, but Brandon Walter jumps up there into second with a 18.442, so jumping into that second slot.
Yeah, Brandon Walter is in the championship for the year-long championship, and he's definitely the dark horse in that one. But don't be too surprised if Brandon comes through and can really give an upset here today.
Absolutely. We're watching Ryan Traver currently in 7th place, coming around and trying to get his position improved from 8th now. He finishes with an 18.8, so that's not going to be his fastest time. Blaine Adams, a good time for himself, puts him in 8th place, with Nicholas Schwartz coming around to start his first flying lap. All these drivers trying to get their laps in early before the track heats up even more. Currently at 110 degrees, it's pretty slick out there for these drivers. Here's Abner Acosta, fast last week. He puts it in 18.352. That puts him on provisional pole.
I believe, if memory serves me correct, that's the fastest lap we've seen all day so far, Adam.
Absolutely. That's the fastest lap we've seen in practice as well. So Abner Acosta in a great position to take some sort of points here. But Daniel Knight's also out there as Abner does his second lap, not quite as clean. Daniel Knight, though, here he comes off of that final corner with an 18.355. That is just a couple of tenths off of, a couple of hundredths rather, off of Abner Acosta's time. Here's Charles Sumner as well. I can report Daniel Knight hit the wall on his second lap, so he's going to be not putting in a second lap. Here's Brett Adams, who's been quick in races past, an 18.423 even with that slide, and that is going to count for him, so that puts him up to 4th provisionally.
Yeah, there's some interesting names towards the top of this one. I think Brett Adams is one that could definitely impress us today as he goes around over in turn 4, so that's going to end his lap.
Bradley Hawley, though, is on track and is starting his first flying lap, so Bradley in a position to try and get some extra points up there. Abner Acosta has taken Daniel Knight's point away, so if Bradley Hawley can set the fastest time around here, he'll get that extra point added to him for that championship. So as he crosses the line, it's an 18.335. That is the fastest time. That is provisional pole, and that would give him the extra point.
Now that is a incredibly fast lap. That even a couple hundredths on the time Acosta put up, that up to that point was the quickest lap we've seen all day. So a tremendous time for Bradley Hawley to get to the top of the charts.
Patrick Calgill's second lap is fast enough for that 10th position. He gets up there with an 18.537. Adam Shane crossing the line. His last lap time was an 18.442. This one is going to put him up into 7th place. A great job to get up there, up towards the top of the field. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty much everybody done with qualifying, I believe, that's going to get the time in. We still got 30 seconds left, but nobody else is coming out on track, so I believe that's going to set our grid. So we're going to take you to the grid here, and it is going to be Bradley Hawley on pole. Move that gap down to Daniel Knight to 2 points. Now, before we even start this race, Abner Acosta starting off in 2nd. Daniel Knight is going to start off in 3rd behind Bradley Hawley, with Thomas Sink in 4th behind Abner Acosta. Wow. 3 of our top, in fact, look at this. Brett Adams in 5th and Brandon Walter in 6th. All of our championship 4 in the top 6 starting positions on the first 3 rows. Adam Shane starting off in 7th with Brendan Chatley 8th. Mark Kalin and Colton Lane rounding out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is Patrick Calgill in 11th, with Barron Hilton next up in line. Then you are going to see Jose Medina and Doyle Lawrence making up that next row, followed by Charles Sumner and Doug Evans. Stacy Hunter will be 17th, with Blaine Adams, Ryan Traver, and Adam Young completing the top 20.
And we have Nicholas Hunter, Austin Hunter, and Nicholas Schwartz, our last drivers to set qualifying times. Then we have Danny Cervantes starting off at 24th, with Adam Zemke 25th, Greg Corzin 26th, Matthew Aubrey 27th. Then we have Matthew Kolnick starting off in 28th, and Mike Richter will start off in the back of the field. It's going to be an intense race today, and this truck is looking extremely loose tonight, Chris. With these trucks being as loose as they are, it's going to be a real challenge for them to get going around here. And with Bradley Hawley on pole, Daniel Knight's going to be in a little bit of a disadvantageous position starting up right behind him.
Yeah, this is going to be a great race. I think the fact that these guys are maybe not 100% comfortable with the setup is really going to make this a better show, really. I think these guys... Maybe a little bit of discomfort is what they need to put them even more on edge with this championship on the line.
Absolutely, discomfort is always something that these drivers are going to struggle with. Now, as they go around here, they're going to have to be very careful on power application. It's the exit of corners where people seem to be struggling. The entrance seems to be fine. It's trying to get the power down off of the corner where they seem to be struggling the most. And drivers who tend to drive aggressively might be the most at danger of falling afoul of that.
Yeah, this is a traditional short track, so you expect it to be kind of rough and tumble, like a blue-collar type of race. But this track doesn't get probably the credit it deserves for really being a finesse track. You have to race like there's an eggshell underneath your accelerator, and you really need to take it easy off the corners so that you're not, A, spinning those rear tires and using up the grip that they have, and also to make sure that you're not going to dump it into the wall trying to get off the corner.
Absolutely. So if the Mustang pace car takes them out onto their pace laps, one of the things I noticed from watching some C-Fix races on the iRacing service just this week was that those drivers who took it easy in the first couple of laps tended to have great long-run speed, and those who took it very aggressively tended to fall off by more than a second per lap, so things getting very dangerous for those drivers for sure.
Yeah, we've seen what a big deal the tire game can be for these drivers this season, pretty much every race, but I think here especially it's going to play a big role in the outcome of this event.
So as they take them through 1 and 2 one more time, this is such a short track that they have 2 pace laps around here, much like the other short tracks on the iRacing service, to make sure that we get all those trucks bunched up together so that we can get this start and have everyone lined up. Now this is a big, risky start for everybody. Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta on the front row. Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink both in the championship 4 in 3rd and 4th. And Brett Adams and Brandon Walter. Brandon, our last championship 4 driver, starting off in the 6th position. The front 3 rows, the most competitive. Bradley Holly controls the field as they come off of 4. And now he's going, and it's not a great jump on Abner Acosta, but Abner looks like he struggled to shift into 3rd gear as they started to get going. Bradley Holly's going to lead them into 1 and 2, but look at that, Daniel Knight on the bottom side, challenging Abner Acosta for that 2nd position.
Now these drivers that want to have a shot at the championship and taking it away from Bradley Holly may need to act early, because Bradley is so good at managing the pace of the race. With him out front, especially early on, this could spell danger for the championship hopes for Daniel Knight.
Daniel Knight slots down into the 3rd position. Thomas Sink right on his rear bumper. Looks like Brett Adams with a bad exit off of 2, but Brandon Walter cannot get there. Bradley Holly leads over Abner Acosta. Daniel Knight, Thomas Sink, and Brett Adams, your top 5. Oh, Brett's struggling. He slips off of turn 4, and he's going to end up down the racetrack. That's going to open up the gap even more between 5th and 6th.
Now, I know this runs directly contradictory to what I literally just said, but Daniel Knight has struggled with managing tires here the last few events, and it's really been a huge part of what's eroded his championship lead to the point that Bradley Holly was overtaking him. So you got to wonder if Daniel Knight, knowing what's on the line, may be thinking about taking it a little bit easier in this first segment than he's used to. But of course, when you change the way you approach the race, does that also change your whole mindset going into it that's going to possibly hurt your flow?
Absolutely, that's something to definitely think about. And if he hasn't been practicing that, it could be a real struggle to adapt to that so quickly, but that is what racers live for, and especially here in the Championship 4, you got to remember, you got to make it to the end of the race in order to win the thing. So everyone's just going to try and survive these first couple laps here, and remember that they're going to be hoping for a long green flag run so you can start to see the effects of some of that tire saving. But up at the front, Bradley Holly leads Abner Acosta by about 1/3 of a second there, with Daniel Knight about half a second back. Then it's about half a second between Thomas Sink, Brett Adams, and Brandon Walter as well. Brandon starting to close in on Brett Adams. Brett seems to be a little bit of a cork in the bottle here.
Well, Brett had that big moment coming off of turn 4 not that long ago, and we mentioned hundreds of times this season, these trucks are really momentum based, and if he upset the apple cart there too much and broke the momentum, everyone else is going to bunch up behind him before they make a move.
Riding on board with Brett looking forward, that's the gap that's starting to form ahead of him. That's about 0.7 of a second, and side by side behind them, Brandon Walter starting to go backwards here early. The 65 of Adam Shane underneath the 99 of Brandon Walter. Brandon trying to carry speed through 3 and 4. Adam Shane trying to carry speed through the bottom of the corner. He's able to get a better exit and clear Brandon Walter. This is not what Brandon wanted to see this early.
No, Brandon had hopes of a championship possibly coming his way today, but again, he's definitely considered the underdog or the dark horse in this one, and unfortunately not going the right way right now.
Here comes Mark Kalin, a very fast driver in his own right, trying to put pressure onto Brandon Walter. As soon as you see a driver get passed, it's definitely one of those things where you try and it definitely gets to your head that that driver is definitely susceptible to being passed again. So Mark Kalin, we know how quick he is. He's going to be looking for an opportunity here.
Yeah, it's like throwing chum in the water for the sharks. Just a feeding frenzy happens once you show the littlest sign of weakness and somebody's looking to close in. And speaking of closing in, Adam, looks like we have a battle up front.
Yeah, it looks like Abner Acosta is starting to close in on Bradley Holly. Now, catching Bradley is one thing, passing him seems to be another. And it's possible that Bradley's just trying to save his tires because we're getting into a longer stint here. Abner Acosta trying to close up to the back of his rear bumper here. Now, this opening group has really stayed pretty consistent at about half a second of gaps between each of them up to this point, between first and fourth. Half a second between each truck, but Abner Acosta seems to be trying to take that gap away and catch up to the back of Holland.
Well, Bradley does a great job of managing the gap when he's out in front. Kind of an Alan Prost type of driver where he runs as fast as he has to, not as fast as he can.
That seems to be the case here. Abner Acosta putting some good pressure on. We've seen Abner do this in races past. It's what gave Abner his win this season against Bradley Holly. He's put the pressure on and forced Bradley into a mistake, but as he continues to push Bradley to go faster, this is actually going to play into Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink's hands as they continue to battle.
That is a very fair point. If Bradley responds in kind to Abner pressuring him, definitely could see Bradley using up his tires here early on, which would be pretty uncharacteristic for him, but could see him use up those tires and possibly give the advantage to Daniel Knight here in the later stages.
Throughout the field, we're seeing drivers struggle on their tires. If we go down to P13 with Doyle Lawrence, he's currently leading a large group of trucks as they continue to go around in 13th position. This is Doyle. He's currently under heavy pressure from Jose Medina. Doug Evans is back there as well, trying to hold off Charles Sumner. So all of these trucks just looking like they're starting to struggle a little bit more and they're starting to sort out what kind of lines they're going to be running as far as their preferred lines as drivers.
Yeah, and that's one thing you do have here at Nashville is options on where you want to run. Depending on your driving style can make a huge difference, but there's a fair amount of banking here and you can lean on that a little bit.
Let's jump back up to P7 with Brett Adams because Brett's really struggling on those tires and he's created a gaggle behind him now. Brandon Walter has jumped up ahead of Brett because Brett took it too deep into 1 and 2, and now look at this big gaggle that's caught up behind him. Almost some contact exiting 3 and 4 from multiple trucks, multiple side-by-side battles here. Brett trying to get to the bottom side of Brandon Walter, can't quite do so.
Yeah, it looks like Colton Lane under threat in that position as well. Trying to hold off a challenge from the 31 truck, but doesn't seem to be going so smooth for him right now.
Mark Kalin very sideways as he exited the corner, but he gets an edge on Brett Adams, who's going to give away the position. Mark Kalin very deep into the corner. Let's see whether Brett's going to try and do the over-under on him. Can't quite get the job done. He's going to have to settle for that position, but he can't breathe too long because Brendan Chatley's tucked in behind him. And Brendan Chatley under pressure from Colton Lane and Patrick Calgill in 10th and 11th as well.
Yeah, he looked like a little bit of a loose moment there for Adams in the 23, and now the 59 of Chatley goes underneath him. This truck definitely not handling to the like. Ooh, that got real snug there off turn 2.
Nice little squeeze there from Chatley on Brett Adams, but Brett able to withstand it. He's able to hold that position. Fantastic driving from all these drivers. Look at that Colton Lane, very loose as he exits 4. Patrick Calgill looking on with interest. Can't quite get to the bottom corner, but man, these drivers are going tooth and nail here in the mid-pack.
I definitely can say that I'm impressed with how everybody's been handling this track so far. As we all are aware, this is a very new track on the iRacing service. So because of that fact, it's probably the least familiar. Oh, Chatley gets all kinds of loose.
That was
a punt. Recovers.
That was a punt for sure from Brett Adams. A little bit of displeasure there between those two drivers. Chatley recovers it. Brett trying to hang on to the truck there, but Chatley's still on his outside.
That was a tremendous save by Chatley. He definitely had no business keeping that truck going the right way. So great job by the 59 to keep that one underneath him.
And the 23 now with a little bit of nose damage. I think that's affecting his straight line speed a little bit because Brendan Chadley and Colton Lade have made their way by Patrick Calgill now on the outside of the 23. Patrick trying to pull off of turn 4. He's going to be able to do so. Looks like Brett is both loose and tight. He's got that thing all crossed up now.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be racing a little bit bipolar for him now. It's looks like tight in, loose off, and not a lot of fun to drive.
Back up to the lead, though. Look at this. Abner Acosta still putting pressure on Bradley Holly, and this has been going on for a good 10 or so laps, but Abner just can't seem to get away by and can't seem to get into the head of Holly right now.
Yeah, Bradley's doing a really good job of managing his race. It's like we've mentioned. He doesn't seem to be folding under the pressure, but you also got to think Abner may be biding his time back there as well. He is a pretty smooth operator out there.
He's taking that low exit there towards the bottom of the racetrack coming off of 2. Oh, here he goes. He's going for the overlap here, and that's going to be a caution. That's Jose Medina, I believe. It was Jose Medina. It was a spin off of turn 4.
Well, the timing of that definitely could have gone better for Abner. It looked like he was getting ready to make his move when the caution came out.
Yeah, the number 24 truck in 22nd position ended up spinning off of turn 4. Here's the replay we're going to show you. These drivers all really struggling with the looseness of the truck. So here we go down the backstretch, and he's going to be looking. The number 24 truck, there he is on the front stretch just after the incident, just recovering, and just a really rough wreck for him, unfortunately hitting the inside wall very hard. Here he is coming off of 4. Just picks up the gas a little bit too much, ends up hitting the inside wall.
Yeah, it's amazing how narrow the track gets when you're heading head first into the front stretch wall.
All right, so as pit stops are being completed, Bradley Holly beats Daniel Knight off of the line. Abner Acosta slots into 3rd position with a slow pit stop, a second slower than Bradley and Daniel. Thomas Sink's going to line up in 4th with Adam Shane in 5th. And look at these races off of pit road. Very tight.
Yeah, Bradley Holly, the class pit stops, he is just does a tremendous job getting in the pits and out smooth and fast, which is one of those spots where he just has a little bit of an advantage over everybody.
And in all fairness to Daniel Knight, Daniel actually was faster on pit lane time than Bradley Holly. They tied according to the timing charts, but Daniel Knight had a slower stop by about 3/10 than Bradley Holly, so that puts Daniel Knight's transition time down pit lane and off of the exit faster than Bradley Holly, so Daniel's been doing his homework here at Nashville.
And this, we mentioned, was a pretty tricky looking pit road here as far as entrance and exit goes. So a great job by Daniel Knight to step up his game here when it counts.
So as we get ready to go back green here, Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight will lead them to the line with Abner Acosta in 3rd, Thomas Sink in 4th, and Adam Shane in 5th position. Brandon Walter down in 6th spot. Hasn't gone backwards anymore, but he's going to be looking, he's going to have to move his way forward at some point during this race in order to try and take that championship 4 fight to these guys who are currently leading.
Yeah, I think we're in store for a pretty good battle here once we get back underway.
Absolutely, for sure, as these drivers starting to line up once again. Lights go off on the pace car. And Chris, how aggressive are you going to be on this restart knowing that you've probably got another long run ahead of you?
Well, Daniel Knight needs to try to capitalize right away, and if he's not going to be able to make anything happen, he needs to fall in line and cruise for a little bit to make sure he's got something there at the end.
So Bradley Holly leading them to the line with Daniel Knight on his outside. These two guys battling for the season-long championship and the points championship for the year-long championship. So everything to play for these two drivers. Bradley Holly has control, and he jumps early, leaving Daniel Knight in the dust. It's side by side between Abner Acosta and Thomas Sink for 3rd. Very tight racing for these drivers as they exit the corner. That's going to be Abner Acosta with the advantage on Thomas Sink. We have a slow truck up ahead. That's Jose Medina, who's just come off of pit lane, so that could be a factor for these drivers. The lap trucks for sure are going to play a factor here. Bradley Holly on those fresh tires. Daniel Knight can't seem to catch back up to him. Half a second is the gap, but it's definitely tight between Sink and Abner Acosta.
Well, at least Jose Medina did a great job of getting out of the way of the leaders, who almost tagged the wall there, but did a great job getting out of the way and making room.
Got the Webb Hearing Centers on board with Thomas Sink. There's Thomas trying to angle off the corner. That's a little bit of a holdup for Abner Acosta. Is Thomas Sink going to try and dive it deep into 3 and 4? No, he's not. He's going to hold off. Then we got Adam Shane tucked in behind him and Brandon Walter following through, still in 6th position. Jose Medina stuck at the high side of the track, the first lap truck that any of the leaders have dealt with this race. But as they get things sorted out once again, Bradley Holly still leading, but look at this gaggle right here behind Thomas Sink.
Yeah, just that one little moment can check up the field enough to really create a stack up there. And Thomas Sink is all over the back of Abner. Now a little bit of daylight between them, but now he's under threat as well from Adam Shane, who's having a great run today, Adam.
It very much is. This is a great position for Adam Shane to be in. He's really putting the pressure on Thomas Sink. He takes a lot of speed on the exit of 4, using up that precious rubber to get a competitive advantage. Looks like Abner Acosta has used up some of his rubber to catch back up to the back of Daniel Knight. I think, to be honest, Chris, I think Daniel is probably doing exactly what Bradley's doing, which is biding a little bit of time here.
Yeah, and I think that's the smart thing. If he wasn't able to capitalize immediately on the restart, and we know how good both of these drivers are at restarts, but if he wasn't able to capitalize right away, then it probably is in his best interest to hang back a little bit and save his tires for later on in the run.
Check this out, though. The lines are a little bit different coming off of 3 and 4. It looks like Daniel Knight's taking a little bit more of a diamond. He comes off with a late apex there off of 3 and 4 to get a little bit more speed down the front straightaway. Is that going to be scrubbing more or less off of your tires when you're doing that here at Nashville, Chris?
I don't think it'll create any excessive wear. Maybe if he was putting the hammer down, so to speak, and trying to run the excessive quick lap times, it might create some issues later on. But right now we have a challenge going for that runner-up spot.
Absolutely. That was a little bit of a surprise to see the difference between lap times there. Bradley Holly with a 19.16 against Daniel Knight's 19.418, and now the gap spreads out even more. So Bradley Holly's turned up the wick here, starting to try and leave Daniel Knight in the dust.
Yeah, that last lap was almost a whole 1/10 of a second quicker.
And he pulled 3/10 on him the lap previous, so as they go across the line once again, Bradley Holly slower on this particular lap. This has brought Daniel Knight back into it. And it may seem silly talking about 1/10 of a second around here, but when you're playing for the championship of a full year, you got to be real careful with the kind of times that you put in, and also the kind of the tire management you're doing. Now, Daniel Knight is not afraid to move Bradley Holly. We've seen that in the first couple of rounds here of this season, so don't expect these guys to play nice as we get towards the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, there's definitely no love lost between these two competitors. They've had a pretty chippy season here the last 9 weeks, Adam, and I gotta say I'm pretty excited to see what can happen if the 17 gets to the back bumper of Holly.
Absolutely. Most of the field single file now as we continue lapping around here. And as we jump on board with Daniel Knight, looking backwards at Abner Acosta, Abner has closed that gap that once was at most 7/10 of a second. But Abner Acosta has closed it in and is starting to put pressure on Daniel Knight, who's starting to fall back once again from Bradley Holly. Gaps up to about half a second once again.
Yeah, I think that just comes down to Bradley Holly picking his spots as far as when he wants to turn up the wick. And, you know, another thing, too, though, could be Daniel Knight deciding to save some tires, which he, as we mentioned, has had some struggles with this season. So maybe he's deciding to take it easy a little bit and allow himself to fall back towards Acosta. But if you notice, he lets Acosta get close to him, but not quite close enough to make a challenge.
There's a gigantic gaggle of cars down in the 17th position. Doug Evans and Danny Cervantes down there very much have a gigantic group of trucks that are trying to figure themselves out. All these trucks having struggled at the beginning of this restart. You can see it here on screen. Lots of trucks too wide as they come off of these corners. They're all trying to figure out their lines and get it all sorted out. But this was a big gaggle just a couple of turns ago, and all these drivers struggling with loose in conditions. Not something I've seen a lot tonight.
Yeah, this track does seem to be going through a bit of a change here as we get later on into this run.
Absolutely. Look at all these trucks everywhere on track. There you see, we've gone up 2 degrees since qualifying, up to 112 degrees Fahrenheit on track, 81 degrees in the air today with a humidity of 50%. Shouldn't be affecting the drivers too much as far as the humidity is concerned. That is the 9 of Dole Lawrence stuck on the outside. Doyle's just been struggling ever since this restart happened. He can't seem to get down to that bottom side or get any heat out of those tires.
This is a pretty tricky track to manage here as well, Adam, as we have a battle going on for the 6th spot. Brandon Walter still fighting for his championship life right now. Now under assault from the 62 of Mark Kalin, with the 60 of Colton Lane hanging in there as well. So a great 3-truck battle going on right now for that 6th position.
Yeah, Kalin is absolutely flinging the truck into the corners. He's sliding it in there on... pretty much has the truck sideways on the entrance of the corners, trying to gain some ground. But look at this, Colton Lane's going to stick his nose underneath. Kalen's going to respect that, but Colton can't get the corner off. And look at this, Kalen just throwing it into 3 and 4. You could see him just kind of throw it into the corner and Lane the corner catch him in the middle of 3 and 4 before he does the late apex off.
Yeah, that's a really aggressive style of driving that Kalen's doing, and it's going to be fast here at this part of the run, but the deeper we get into this, could possibly mean some tire wear for Mr. Kalin.
Kalen's going to try and get a good run here as he exits 3 and 4. You can see him having to counter steer on the exit of the corner to try and get underneath Brandon Walter. He thought he had an opportunity that time, but Brandon parked it on the apex of the corner, making sure that Kalin couldn't get the overlap. And once again, Kalin stuck there. He's going to look to the inside, but think better of it. He's going to fling it into 3 and 4 one more time.
Yeah, I respect what Kalen's trying to do, but you got to think sooner than later those tires are going to give up, and he's not going to be too happy about this once we get closer to the end of this race.
I can't seem to figure out his way around Brandon Walter, but Brandon looks like he's really struggling to get the car to the truck to rotate through the center of the corner. You can see Brandon taking some different lines to try and get that truck to behave differently as we ride on board with Brandon looking back at Mark Kalin. There's Colton Lane tucking up underneath, and Brandon really starting to become the cork of the bottle here with Brendan Chatley and Patrick Calgill coming to the fore as well.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean there. It looks like the field is starting to stack up behind Brandon. Ooh, Colton Lane with a big moment there, went skating towards the inside wall.
That's going to give the position to Brendan Chatley. We're going to take a look at this replay because this is a scary moment that no driver wants to go through. Here they go into 3 and 4.
Yeah, if you watch closely, you can see the exact moment when Colton Lane is going to need to change his shorts.
As soon as you have to put your left hand over the steering wheel, that is where things are very stressful for you for sure. But let's jump back up to, and have we had a wreck? I don't believe we're under caution. Yeah, we are. Okay, it's Doug Evans who ended up spinning. Doug Evans in the number 41 truck down in 24th position. Similar wreck to what we saw right at the last caution, Chris.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here at a Doug Evans trip around the Nashville Fairgrounds here.
Yeah, so here we go through 3 and 4, coming off the corner, just once again gets a little bit too much gas under it. Right at that transition point, ends up spinning that truck towards the inside wall. I don't believe he hit it, but it was very close.
Yeah, the truck really unloads when the banking kind of drops away there. And it's tricky on a good day, but once you get into a run with some tires worn down, it can be a real handful. And we've seen a couple drivers struggle with it now.
We are almost to halfway, which means the drivers are taking another set of tires. This means they only have 2 left in the pits. Bradley Holly, once again, with a great on and off, is going to beat Daniel Knight to the pit lane exit. Abner Acosta going to follow them out with Thomas Sink in 5th and Adam Shane in 6th. So why am I saying 5th and 6th? Colton Lane has yet to take his pit stop. I would expect him to come around and do so, probably on the next lap, but he has yet to take his pit stop this time.
Yeah, you got to think probably not the best move to stay out on used tires here.
Well, it's been an intense race for sure, Chris, but this seems very measured from all of these drivers, at least at the front of the pack. It seems like they're definitely thinking about the end goal, which is the win or the championship today.
Yeah, it's amazing how differently people approach short track racing when there's a championship on the line. You know, we had the race a few weeks back at the Martinsville Speedway, which was not the best representation of the quality of racing we see in this series more often than not. And you get to a different short track here in Nashville, and everybody's playing nice and really trying their best to keep things together so they can be there at the end.
I mean, you have to remember that Martinsville was the end of one of the end of the round of 12, so there are quite a few drivers playing for spots in that round of 8 going into Phoenix. So the drivers definitely had a lot on their minds as far as trying to get those positions. But now that we've gotten into this final round, things very, very stressful for these drivers now. I'll be interested. Here we come through 3 and 4. Is Colton Lane coming to the pit road? He doesn't look like he is, so I think he's going to go for this track position play, Chris. This could be a real risk.
Yeah, I gotta say that is definitely not the decision I would have made. But Colton Lane is one of the more brave drivers we have out there, so if anyone were to make a move like that, I guess Colton would be the one.
So Colton Lane, now I don't believe we're 2x2 at this point, so the lights are off on the pace car, so Colton will lead them to the line with Bradley Holly on his outside, Daniel Knight tucked in behind Colton Lane with Abner Acosta on the outside in row 2. Thomas Sink and Adam Shane will be lined up as well. So here we go, off of turns 3 and 4. Look at that, Daniel Knight tucked up right behind him. Bradley Holly trying to get an angle. Look at that, spinning the tires off of 3 and 4. Colton Lane can't get going, but neither can Bradley Holly. Here comes, oh, Daniel Knight's gonna look to go 3 wide as they go through 1 and 2. Oh, it's tight.
Looks like Knight and Holly may have even made a little bit of contact as the field tries to work around the 60 of Colton Lane, who is nursing those older tires. Ooh, and now they're 3 wide off of turn 4. Adam, this is getting close.
Absolutely, Colton Lane just trying to hold on to the truck at this point. Bradley Holly out in the lead. Daniel Knight and Abner Acosta have cleared him. It was tight between Thomas Sink as well. Look at that, Colton Lane just holding up the field as he exits the corner. But once again, this lead is out to single file, and we've had another wreck.
Yeah, it looks like the 31 of Patrick Cowgill.
It's a huge one.
Got tagged and ended up going up to the wall. And you can see him rolling down the banking right now, but that began with Cowgill making some contact going 3 wide.
Yeah, and this was the slow Colton Lane, and I believe it was the 99, I believe. The 99 truck ended up hitting him, Brandon Walter. That's our championship 4 contender.
Yeah, this is just kind of one of those ping pong incidents there. It looked like somebody got deflected off a lane, and you can see him back there. It's the yellow truck to the outside of the red, white, and blue machine.
And it happens just a little bit before this, but Colton Lane ends up getting a little bit slow into 3 and 4. Brandon Walter ends up hitting him, and that collects the 31 of Patrick Cowgill, who goes up the hill.
Yeah, tough break for Patrick, too, who is running a pretty solid race today. Colton Lane is parked in the pit area right now. We'll see if he continues on after some pretty significant contact with the back of his machine.
Well, the back's not as important as the front when it comes to a short track race, Chris. We've definitely learned that over the course of this season. But Colton Lane is going to get rolling once again, so the repairs are definitely done for him. Brandon Walter moves back to 8th position, but with him punting Colton Lane that hard, I don't know how much competitiveness he's got left in that engine.
Yeah, it was a pretty good hit there, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was pretty close to the end of the line for him.
There we're looking at Patrick Cowgill stranded on pit lane. Unfortunately, there's a couple of other trucks joining him in the pit lane at this time. I believe that's Jose Medina that's pulled up, and that's Adam Young tucked in behind him. So that is Adam Young pulling back off. Adam's had the worst luck this season for sure, Chris. He just has not been able to catch a break when it comes to getting into accidents. I think he's been in almost every one that we've had this season.
Yeah, and the worst part is most of them weren't even his fault.
So as we continue to circulate, Bradley Holly leads Daniel Knight and Abner Acosta. Thomas Sink in 4th. Adam Shane in 5th position with Mark Kalin 6th. Brendan Chatley 7th. Brandon Walter in 8th. Mike Richter 9th. And Charles Sumner down in the 10th position. The truck you see right tucked in behind the pace car is Ryan Traver. He will go past the pace car and get one of his, well, he's actually already got the lap back, but he will circulate once we get the lights turned off here.
Now things looked like they got a little dicey there for a minute between Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight. Now they're going to be restarting next to each other, and you got to wonder how friendly they're going to be.
I'm pretty sure that one's going to be a mutual understanding between the both of them trying to get past Colton Lane as quickly as possible. I think Daniel saw his opportunity to try and pass Bradley when he wasn't in control of a restart. But here we go once again with Bradley in control of our third restart of the night. Bradley Holly tucked down on the bottom of the track here. Daniel Lano's outside. Bradley jumps quite a bit early. Look at that, going through the 3 and 4. Very, very tight there, but still side by side between Abner Acosta and Thomas Sink. Abner really sending it deep in 1 and 2. Look at this, Daniel Knight with a late apex off of 2. Going to try and catch up to the back bumper of Bradley Holly.
Daniel Knight with a pretty solid restart there. He's going to get a good drive off of turn 4 here.
Now look at that. Those two very, very tight together. I think Daniel Knight's going to try and take the attack to Bradley very early in this run, possibly get ahead of him. Look at this. He's looking to the bottom side through 3 and 4. He's going to try and stick his nose in. He can't quite get there. Almost makes contact with the bottom of him, but here he goes. He's going to try and get the good exit off the corner. He's got the overlap, but can't quite hold it as they go into 1 and 2.
Yeah, Knight made the move maybe just a little bit too soon there to have it completed, but he's definitely got the right idea for the quick way to pass here at Nashville.
Absolutely, but the question is how much of his tires did he take out? Look at him, he's trying to go for that late apex, and I believe we've had another caution. We have. Brett Adams is involved in this one. Adam, Young, Doyle, Lawrence, tons of trucks in the back.
Yeah,
It's a whole holdup on the back straightaway. Doug Evans involved, Nicholas Hunter.
Well, that is not where you should park your truck.
All right, so trying to figure out who starts this. I believe it was, oh my goodness, it started very early. That was the 23. Ends up, oh my goodness, he gets stuck in the wall, unfortunately. That is about half of the field that wrecked out because of that, Chris.
Yeah, that was a pretty ugly one there.
Unfortunately, that's all we're going to get to see of it today. We got multiple trucks in the pit lane trying to get repaired, and I'm trying to see whether or not we caught out any of our championship contenders here. It looks like Brandon Walter was able to make it through cleanly, and Thomas Sink, Daniel Knight, and Bradley Holly all up ahead of this. So fortunately, the championship 4 are able to get out, but there's the damage to Brett Adams' truck as the wall decided to give him a hug and not let go.
Well, you know that the people in Nashville are here a little bit more friendly, but apparently that stretches to concrete retaining walls as well.
So entering lap 77 of 115. None of these guys are coming to pit lane. This is going to be the third restart, the second restart, or the third restart they're going to take on this set of tires. At what point is this tire cycle really going to start negatively affecting them a lot, Chris?
Well, I mean, you had Daniel Knight who was pushing it for a few laps there. That could potentially be causing him some issues here in the not too distant future. It was pretty chippy between him and Holly, so that could end up costing those drivers and really anybody that was out there trying to make moves during that last couple restarts.
Yeah, one driver who I'm definitely keeping my eyes on is Thomas Sink. He hasn't really made a lot of moves this race so far. Currently in 4th position in the 48 truck, trying to hold on to that position in the championship 4, trying to get up there and battle with those guys, but he seems to definitely be one of the drivers who's the most patient tonight as he tries to climb his way forward, just hanging out there in the top 5 very comfortably, not really showing his cards quite yet. He's just trying to make a name for himself up there. But right now we have Bradley Holly leading with Daniel Knight lining up on his outside. Abner Acosta is going to be in 3rd position with Thomas Sink in 4th, and Adam Shane up to 5th. Mark Kalin has moved himself up in the 6th spot with Brandon Walter in 7th, Brendan Chatley in 8th spot with Charles Sumner 9th, and Mike Richter rounding out your top 10 as the lights go off on the Mustang pace car. So But once again, Bradley Holly will lead them to the line. Bradley has had a masterful restart every time, catching out the drivers in the middle of 3 and 4. And that seems to be the best place to get that restart going. Daniel Knight has seen it a couple times. Is he going to jump early? Is Bradley going to go late? Here we go. We're about to find out as we get ready to do another restart here. Bradley goes at the same time. Daniel just can't get the power down, but he is able to get into that second position. Once again, side by side between Abner Acosta and Thomas Sink for that third position.
You got to wonder, when does Thomas Sink think it's going to be go time? He's been right up there in the mix all race long, but really just running a quiet, consistent 4th place for most of the run here. So you got to wonder when Sink's going to turn up the wick and make a move.
He definitely thought about it on that restart, but couldn't quite get the job done. Mark Kalin able to move himself into 5th ahead of Adam Shane. And Brandon Chatley holding off 2, Mike Richter and Brandon Walter as they keep going. But this is the battle for the lead between Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly. Daniel trying to figure out his way to get up to Bradley Holly. But Bradley, I think he's got a little bit better tires than Daniel at this stage in the run. And another wreck. Greg Corzin this time. Down towards the bottom of the wall of the number 11 truck in 22nd positions. I believe he got a little bit of help because that usually isn't a place you spin out. And yes, he did. It was the 47 truck here of Baron Hilton. They end up coming off of 3 and 4 and end up getting into one another.
Yeah, it looks like they may have gotten hooked together there for just a moment and sent Corzin around.
We're going to jump on board with the 9 truck here as he tries to get his way through this cleanly. As Doyle Lawrence avoiding this wreck. Look at him try and take evasive action. That was very close for sure between him and a couple of other trucks as well.
Yeah, he was right in the mix of probably about 4 different wrecks right there in that one.
So once again, a very short 1-lap stint for these drivers on these tires. We're closing towards the end of it here. We're closing into about 30 laps to go. This is going to be very close for these drivers. I'm pretty sure, Chris, unless we continue to get cautions like this, they're going to have to take one more pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to around the 100 lap races that we typically see in that general neighborhood. Going all the way to 115 on a short track with this abrasive surface, I mean, we still have a lot of laps left, Adam.
Yeah, I think 35 would be about the maximum you'd want to run around here on a single lap, on a single stint of tires as far as green is concerned. So these drivers are going to have to hope that they get some green flag running, then a late caution in order to bring out the best performance that they can get. But if they do have to go from here to the end, do you think that's possible, Chris?
I mean, I think it's possible in the technical sense that it can be done. I just don't think it's probably going to be what you want to do.
Alright, so there were a couple of shuffles towards the front of the field. Mark Kalin was able to get past Adam Shane into that 5th position. Mike Richter was able to hold off Brandon Walter and retain 7th. That was up for question. Austin Hunter moves himself into the top 10. But at the front, it's still Bradley Holly from Daniel Knight from Bradley Holly up at the front of the field. Bradley still leading confidently, and I think, Chris, he's secured those the extra point for the most laps led at this point. So that puts Bradley Holly 3 points ahead of Daniel Knight. So Daniel would have to not only pass Bradley, but hope that Bradley gets down to probably about 5th in order to win the season-long championship.
Well, the way these two have raced this season, I would say at this point anything is possible.
For sure, especially if they get chippy once again like we've seen in races past. But the lights go out on the Mustang pace car with Bradley Holly leading into the line. Daniel Knight on the outside, lined up behind Bradley is going to be Thomas Sink with Abner Acosta. Actually, Abner's going to line up on the bottom side with Thomas Sink on the top side for that second row. Then you got Mark Kalin and Adam Shane lined up in the third row. It'll be very interesting to see whether anyone tries anything different here on this restart or whether or not everyone's happy with the status quo. But as we go into 3 and 4, the Mustang pace car will pull off and Bradley Holly controls the field. And he jumps at the same time. Daniel Knight can't seem to get away to a better advantage. Once again, that side-by-side battle between Abner and Thomas. Who's going to come out ahead on this time? And it's another spin. Doug Evans and Matthew Aubrey around in the backfield.
Yeah, it looks like a parking lot over near turn 4.
To be honest, Chris, I'm a little surprised. This isn't what I was expecting here. Look at that, just wheel spin off of the line, ends up collecting, the 95 ends up collecting the 41 of Doug Evans.
Well, it is the latter stages of the last race of the season. I mean, all these drivers are trying to eke out as many points as they can possibly get here.
Here we go. We're taking a park here because the pace car decided not to wait for the field, so he's going to pick it up. Bradley Holly making the call. Everyone taking a park, making it nice and easy for everyone. And that's the benefit you get from league racing for sure, is that you can make that communication to everybody and let them know, hey, we're going to park it in 3 and 4 and let the pace car catch up. So hopefully this means that we don't get anybody with black flags, but we do have some admins in the session that will be able to clear those if necessary.
Also a nice little advertisement there for the All-American 400, which is a huge part of the history here at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Just one of those ultimate super late model events that you really have to put on your bucket list if you're a short track fan.
That's definitely something that I hope to definitely go and do. Look at that, Bradley Holly making a feint for the pit lane. Didn't quite go, but one taker is Mark Kalin. Mark Kalin in the 62 truck decides to come to pit lane. Nicholas Schwartz also coming from 11th position. So a couple of drivers deciding to come and take tires now. Interesting call. I'm not sure I disagree with it, Chris, but it's just, I'm not sure whether or not you're going to be able to make up enough positions on track in order to make up for the gap that you lose.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's really a razor's edge here as far as what to do. I mean, you gotta think right at this point with the laps that they have on their tires, if you got a fresh set, you'd be really fast, but that's a lot of traffic to get through if you're the only one that does it.
I've got to be thinking that unless we get a longer run here, if everybody does dive to the pits, those who stay out might actually have a decent advantage. But with the amount of heat cycles we put into these tires, things are going to be really stressful for these drivers getting off the line, as we saw with Corzin and Evans off of that restart.
Yeah, that's another fair point, is we're definitely increasing the odds of somebody spinning the tires on the start, stacking them up again, and putting us back under caution.
Well, one driver that's really happy that we keep getting these cautions is Baron Hilton, who is able to get back onto the lead lap. Because of this, he was quite a few laps down. So these cautions have definitely ended up being a boon for him as far as gaining the time back and getting back onto the lead lap. He has some significant damage, but this means that he's definitely competing for, he's definitely going to be racing for position now as the lights go off on the pace track.
I do have some good news for you, Adam. Just found out that the Nashville Fairgrounds Flea Market does have a virtual version that you can partake in. So don't worry, even though with COVID, you're not going to miss out on the Nashville Fairgrounds Flea Market in 2020.
Definitely happy about that for sure. But as the pace car pulls off once again, Bradley Holly takes the jump at the same spot. Pretty much rinse and repeat of the last couple of restarts up at the front of the field. The question is, who's going to win that race into turns 1 and 2 rather, when it comes to third place? It looks like Abner's going to try and pack it in, but Thomas Sink able to keep the overlap.
Yeah, Thomas Sink is the one that I'm probably most interested in seeing how they run out the rest of this race. He has really bided his time, and once again, we have another caution on the Speedway.
Nicholas Hunter in the 109 truck in 19th position ended up getting into the outside wall in 3 and 4. And he had help from behind. It was the 44 of Nicholas Schwartz that ended up giving him a little bit of help. We're going to do an onboard here with Nicholas Schwartz to see how this came up. I think it was Nicholas Hunter just braking a little bit earlier than Schwartz expected. There's the punt. Nothing intentional there, but unfortunately brings out the caution.
Yeah, it looked like the 109 had his hands full with that truck and unfortunately stabbed the brakes a little bit sooner than the truck trailing him was expecting.
Well, while we circulate for another caution, we're going to take a very short break here on the GSRC, but don't go anywhere. We'll have the finish of this race and the finish of the championships coming up very shortly. You're not going to want to miss it. Fairgrounds Speedway. Bradley Holly will lead them to the line with Daniel Knight on the outside. The pace car pulls off, and Bradley Holly is going to take the jump. Daniel Knight can't quite get that overlap on him, but he's definitely closer than he has been in restarts past. Let's see whether or not he can make a challenge into 1 and 2. Nope, he's going to stay behind. Is he going to get the over-under, though? He tries it. He's going to get a decent run. I think he's going to have a nose in as they get to 3 and 4.
Tremendous run down the back straightaway for the 17. He's going to try to pull even through 3 and 4. He's not going to complete the pass, but he's going to hang with him down that front straightaway at him. He's going to have a real shot at it here in 1 and 2.
He's trying to move Bradley Holly up the track, but can't quite get the exit off. Very loose from both of them as they exit the corner. Daniel Knight's going to slot in behind Bradley Holly. Bradley's going to take that as an opportunity to go to the apex.
Well, it looks like they're going to settle down, but I don't think Daniel Knight's done trying to take a shot at it.
Definitely not. They have 16 to go this time by. Daniel Knight trying to get a good run off. That's Abner Acosta who's made it into the 3rd position. Thomas Sink there. And it looks like we got another caution. I believe this was Doug Evans once again. Let's see. Take a look. No, this was Brett Adams, actually. Or Blaine Adams, I should say, than the 33 machine. And Blaine had some help as well from the 59 of Brendan Chatley. This was into turn 1 and 2. And this is very similar to a couple of the wrecks we've had tonight, Chris.
Yeah, it's getting to that point of the race where everyone's managing their trucks differently, and you can see just a bit of a one person should have zigged when the other one zagged.
I think some of the drivers are getting a little bit weary on track with forgetting about the differences in performance between these different trucks. There are a lot of trucks with damage at this stage in the race. We're going to see it on board here. This is from, oh my goodness, Jose Medina, nowhere to go. Ends up getting into that driver's side door. Already had a lot of front end damage, and that just adds to the woes.
Yeah, that was a big hit there.
The one driver who is absolutely cursing in his cockpit right now is Brandon Walter in the 99. He has had absolutely no opportunity to make up any ground when it comes to trying to improve his position. Brandon Walter, currently the last truck out of the championship 4 in 9th position, and started off in 6th, fell back to 8th position, and then we've just had this long string of cautions. he has not been able to make any forward progress in the couple of laps we've had of green.
Yeah, it's definitely a frustrating situation when all these cautions prevent you from trying to make progress when you're fighting for a championship. And these laps are clicking off here under caution, and if I'm Brandon and Walter, you just got to be spitting mad right now.
You're just watching the championship disappear as we're going to restart. Probably under 10 to go here, Chris. At this point, I mean, these guys have been circulating on these tires for about 5 restarts. They've got to be pretty much bricks at this point, but if you're Daniel Knight or Thomas Sink or even Abner Acosta, it's go time, isn't it?
I would think so. I mean, at this point, gloves are off. We're fighting for a championship and a win.
So this will make things very interesting as we come back to the green flag here. All the action has been in the back of the pack as far as the accidents have been concerned. We haven't seen a lot of door-to-door contact when it comes to the leaders, but expect that to disappear here as we come into the closing laps of this race, because with the amount of short cautions we've been getting and coming into the closing 10 laps of this race, any of these cautions could come out and give you an opportunity for a green-white checker. And who's going to be the person who has the most advantage on a green-white checker? The guy who restarts the race.
That's a very fair point. There's probably nobody better at restarts in this series than Bradley Holly right now.
So Bradley will lead them to yet another one with Daniel Knight on his outside. Thomas Sink took over the Abner Acosta still in 3rd spot with Thomas Sink in 4th. Mike Richter in 5th. You've been hearing these names most of the night, but once again, they're going to have another opportunity to change up the order as the pace car pulls off, and Bradley Holly, look at this, Daniel Knight, he sticks his nose out, but can't quite get that overlap once again, trying a different thing from Daniel Knight. Bradley Holly able to get that lead as they go into 1 and 2. Thomas Sink setting it deep on the high side into 1 and 2, but Abner Acosta still strong on the bottom. He's not going to clear him, though, as they go into 3 and 4.
Thomas Sink gets a huge run down the straightaway. Acosta running that shorter line on the inside, though, does get the advantage back. But those two still it out. Did Sink catch the wall there, Adam?
Sink clobbered the wall on the outside. That's going to definitely affect his truck as Adam Shane takes a look on the bottom side there. He's going to try and get going. We're still green here as we go into the closing laps of this race. We've got about 8 to go at this stage in the race. Bradley Holly currently leading Daniel Knight. Daniel trying to get going once again. Oh, we've had a punt. That's the 51 truck around of Mike Richter. That was off of the rear bumper of Adam Shane, and that's going to bring out the caution, and it's a big one.
What a tough break for Mike Richter. He wasn't able to qualify. Started 28th and was running 6th at the time of the caution.
This was Adam Shane. He got a little bit loose on the exit of the corner, ends up coming off the wall and punting Mike Richter on the nose. Tried to save it, but couldn't quite do so. Locks up the tires in the middle of the course and ends up spinning out Charles Sumner, who then gets collected by quite a few trucks. Here comes another look at it.
Yeah, it looks like they just made contact, sent the 51 around.
And that's Charles Sumner in the 98 who tried to lock up the tires to avoid the incident, ends up parking in the middle of the track. Multiple trucks make contact. Oh boy. This is not going to be a green-white checker, I don't believe, Chris, but it could be close.
Yeah, we got, what, 6 laps left right now, Adam, so it's definitely going to be close.
I think we'll probably restart with 3 to go, which will be a green-white checker plus 1. So if there's another caution quickly off of that, that would definitely affect things. Thomas Sink, though, with that damage, he's going to be happy to hold on to that 4th position. It really is a fight between Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight for this year-long championship and the win of this race. At this point, I do believe that Bradley Holly has an advantage there up at the top of the up in the front of the field. But Daniel Knight has been putting the pressure on. The question is, can he put the pressure on enough to move Bradley Holly in order to get going?
That's a pretty solid point there. And I think the driver I probably feel the worst for right now is Thomas Sink. He was really doing a great job being patient, and hadn't turned a wheel wrong all night, and then just had a little bit of a moment off of turn 4, and unfortunately pancaked the wall there with the right side of his truck.
We haven't seen a lot of tire warming all night, but I'd expect to get a little bit of sun coming up to this restart because here we go. We are going to restart this race. I do not believe it is not going to be the green-white checker. So we will come to the restart with 3 to go.
Just a few laps left, Adam. You got to think if Daniel Knight has any shot at the championship, he is going to have to be laser precise with his restart.
I stand corrected. The lights are still on the pace car, so it will come with at least 2 to go unless we get the green-white checker call here, which is entirely possible. I mean, if you see that as Daniel Knight, you're going to be cursing yourself. As they cross the line, there we go. The lights are off on the pace car, so they are going to get the restart with 2 to go. I expect everything on this restart, Chris.
At this point, I have no idea what to expect.
Right, so we get ready to do the final laps of the season for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. The final laps of the year here for these guys. They will restart in the middle of December, but oh my goodness, Bradley Holly takes a huge jump and everyone's spinning their tires. That was very early from Bradley. He knows the importance of this. And look at this, Abner Acosta sending it deep into 1 and 2, almost collecting Daniel Knight in the process, but Bradley's got a great run as they exit 1 and 2.
Yeah, Bradley Holly definitely caught him napping on that one. Jumped out to possibly the biggest lead he's had here all day. And looks like we're closing in on the finish here. Daniel Knight's going to have to really pull it out if he wants to have a shot at making a move.
It's the white flag lap. Bradley Holly currently leads the season-long championship, the year-long championship, and the races. They go into 3 and 4. Daniel Knight's not going to get there. Bradley Holly exits the corner, and he's going to win the lot as he finishes here at Nashville.
Huge credit to Daniel Knight, though. He really drove it off into turn 3 on the last lap there to try to make something happen.
Well, this race had everything from cautions to green flag runs, intense battles, side-by-side battles, door-to-door battles. Everything came out in this last race. But Bradley Holly takes the win of the race, takes the win of the season-long championship, the year-long championship, and secures, I do believe, the points championship for his team as well. Bradley Holly doing donuts to celebrate the win. That's going to take us to a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, but don't go anywhere. We will have the unofficial results for you as well as post-race interviews, so don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, the finish of the Season 4 of 2020 here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, sponsored by WEBB Hearing Centers. And there is your race results, with Bradley Holly taking the win of the race and the win of the season-long championship and series-long championship over Daniel Knight, who came in second. Thomas Sink came home in third after passing Abner Acosta in the closing laps of the race. Abner coming home in fourth position. Colton Lane able to hang on to fifth spot over Adam Shane, with Austin Hunter getting seventh. Adam Young getting eighth position, with Brendan Chatley in ninth, and Brandon Walter rounds out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 was Charles Sumner coming home in 11th, with Greg Corzin 12th. Nicholas Hunter, a pretty good recovery to come back up to 13th, with Blaine Adams and Doyle Lawrence completing the top 15. Mike Richter drove from 28th to get caught up in that last caution, able to hang on for 16th, with Nicholas Schwartz. Doug Evans, who was involved in just about every caution today, coming home 18th, with Stacy Hunter and Ryan Traver completing the top 20.
Then you get to your drivers who had some significant trouble, with Mark Kalin getting caught up in the final wreck of the day. Patrick Cowgill, Jose Medina, Baron Hilton, Matthew Aubrey, Brett Adams, Danny Cervantes, and Matthew Kolinik rounding out your finishers, with Adam Zemke finishing off the race in 29th position. But we have our race winner, our series winner, our championship winner. Bradley Holly has joined us. Bradley, a very interesting race for sure. It was all about the restarts today. How'd you pull it off?
Just trying to stay consistent. Trying to keep the rear tires underneath me and making sure that I hook it up on every restart.
And Bradley, coming into this race, every single championship of this series was up for grabs. How did you keep your cool as you came into this weekend?
I guess best way I could put it is experience. I've been in stressful situations like this before. Just, I just knew I needed to hit my marks and do what I needed to do to come out on top.
And that second to last restart, Daniel Knight gave you a run for your money in those first opening laps. Is that what changed your mind as far as how to do the final restart?
Yeah, pretty much. I was still trying to save a little bit of tire because I had a feeling we're going to have at least one more caution, if not two, and do a green-white checker. So on that last restart, I just hammered down and wasn't going to let Daniel try to get anywhere near as close as he did that second to last restart.
Absolutely, Bradley. And coming home with these championships, as you look back towards the year, is there anything that you would have done differently, or any strategy you would have tried a little bit differently over the course of the year to get possibly in a better position going into?
I had like a 20-plus point lead going into this race, and then when it comes to the year championship, it's just whoever comes out on top. I turned an unbelievable amount of laps compared to what I normally do. And that's part of the reason why I was able to keep my cool so much.
Well, Bradley, we've had you up here a lot this season, but for one last time, is there anyone you want to thank for all of your championship wins and the race win tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Waterback guys, practicing with me week in and week out, trying to figure out what we need to do to be on top every week. You guys for broadcasting us. PRL, Adam's Hearing, or Webb's Hearing, I'm sorry, for sponsoring us in North Star Title. I'd also like to thank all the competitors, including Daniel Knight, Thomas Sink, Abner, and Brandon Walters. Everybody's been racing real clean this year, and I look forward to doing it next year.
Well, Bradley, congratulations on your championship wins and the win of the round of 10 here. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you next season.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Holly, your race winner and championship winner, as well of the year-long championship and the season championship and the team's championship. But we have our runner-up, Daniel Knight, who finished in second tonight, talking to Chris Foby.
Well, Daniel, a great race for you here today. Came up a little bit short in the championship and ended up finishing second, but looks like you gave it your all here today. Tell us about your ride.
Yeah, I gave it everything I had there, especially towards the end. I was feeling good at the first half and was hoping we would get some more long runs, but those cautions at the end just kind of killed me as far as my race strategy went. But just want to say congrats to Bradley for awesome season, awesome year. He's always my biggest competition, so always gives me something to shoot for to improve myself.
Now, off of a strong finish this season, you got to think going into next year, things are definitely looking up for you. Tell us about your year, really. It's been a great season, a couple wins for you, and it's got to feel pretty good to come as close as you did.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I actually muted myself for the first half of that question, but I heard the last half of it. It feels good to finish second. I got to look at the bright side of things. That improved a lot over my last few seasons with PRL, and just to be that close at the end was a good feeling. Just wish we could have taken it that much further across the line.
Now, who do you want to thank to help make your season possible?
All the guys with riding shotgun. They've all been awesome to race with and real supportive over the year. And PRL, Charles Sumner, and Bradley for putting up awesome races and making it fun to show up and battle every week. So just can't wait till next year and see if we can do a little better.
Well, thanks for joining us, Daniel. Congratulations on a good season, and we'll hopefully talk to you again next time around.
All right, thanks.
That was Daniel Knight, our runner-up here tonight, and I believe you've done some more catching up there, Adam.
Yeah, I'm catching up with Thomas Sink and Brandon Walter, and both of you guys. Thomas, I want to talk to you first. You finished up in that third position, and over the course of the season, you've been very consistent. Maybe not your flashiest season ever, but it's definitely been a good drive. What do you think made the difference as far as being up there and able to compete for that championship for today?
Teamwork. I mean, I got the greatest teammates in any racing league you can ever have with Brandon and Brad running up there in the chase. I think just our collaborated effort and decision making just made it that much stronger for me and the rest of the team.
And Brandon, it seemed like you struggled a little bit to get the truck underneath you tonight. Was it tires, or was it just those cautions towards the end of the race that caught you out?
It was tires. This track, definitely not one of my best tracks. It's a lot of fun, I'm not going to lie, but I struggled to put consistent speed, and I tried to back the corners up, and just the tires just got away from me. So it wasn't really the whole yellow kind of thing. I think they actually kind of saved me a bit, but yeah, I just wore the tires out too quickly there.
Absolutely. And starting with you, Thomas, who do you want to thank for your championship run this season and your finish tonight?
Lots of people. Muscle Farm for sponsoring the truck. I'd like to thank everyone at Team WEBB. You guys for putting on a great broadcast. I love you guys' broadcast. PRL for putting on a great league. My girlfriend at home, and I want to say hi to Matt and hope that he gets better after his surgery.
Awesome. Well, we definitely hope that he gets well as well. And Brandon Walter, who do you want to thank for your championship run as well, being up there in the championship 4?
I got to thank my guys at WEBB Racing. They definitely kept me motivated all season, got me better, and I drove better because of them. Road Trip Transport, my buddy Paul, it sponsors the truck, as well as you guys for the broadcast, and just everybody at PRL that helps put this together, like Charles and Brad and Adam doing the caution reviews and everything. So it was a lot of fun.
That was our WEBB teammates Thomas Sink and Brandon Walter, finishing 3rd and 10th respectively in this race. And that's going to close us out for the season. But before we let you go, we want to let you know that GSRC actually has advertising options available. As you heard, a lot of those guys reading off their own. But the channel boasts over 1 million global monthly impressions. And our branding opportunities include official series sponsorships, ad reads, race awards, and more. You want to follow the link in the description to learn more about that. And we look forward to working together with you for sure. I want to give a big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to their season sponsor, WEBB Hearing Centers. Find out more about them at webhearingcenters.com and the ButtKicker, and you can find out more about them in the description below as well. And they're sponsoring the entire league this season. We want to give a thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are now listed here on your screen. And as always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music through the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to those who were part of the team this season: Chris Phoebe, Gary Weaver, Joe Peak, Sean Ambrose, Dougie Beard, and Ryan Bauer. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storemb.com. The link is in the description below. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, next season will start on December 16th. That's at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also here on the GSRC, it's going to be a new season, a new year for those guys, so it's going to be a great racing for sure. We look forward to that. We also have upcoming races for other series listed here on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Now, fans and drivers alike, we truly hope you've enjoyed joining us on track this year as much as we've enjoyed bringing the racing to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next season, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.